Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming along here today. We're going to take a little walking tour all the way around, if it's passable, the Kleinstuck Preserve. Turning here on Chevy Chase. And we'll go down here to the bottom of Chubby and see if we can get a little parking spot. There are some of the homes that are built up here around the hills that encircle the Kleinstuck, the pond in the middle and so forth. They have backyard access, but this is the only public access. Right down here. Oh, there are 3 vehicles there and there's room for a 4th. Okay, here we go. Yes, this is how you do it, baby. Okay, gonna take a little walk. Be right back. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Kleinstuck Preserve. Kind of interesting. Has some highlights here. There's a lot of history. But back in 1869, a man by the name of Leonard Bragg moved to this area and bought this 160 acres back here. And he started a tree nursery. Well, time went on a little bit. 1885, he sold it to Kleinstuck and his wife, Mr. Kleinstuck. He bought the nursery. He started actually growing the burning bush back here, the burning bushes, and it's just overridden with them, it is said, to this day back here. He also started mining peat out of here. People were burning peat like they did wood. So he had a peat bog that he was working back here. Well, after his death, a little time went on, and this property was deeded to the Michigan Department of Education by the Kleinstuck family, so forth, in 1922. And the 48 acres, we're going to go back here right now, are the preserve. This is the preserve that was deeded. President Waldo, the first president of Western Michigan University, who now oversees this property, this is part of WMU, which many of the little preserves around Kalamazoo, they're backed by Western. But President Waldo was on an Arbor Day back in the day, planted the first pine tree here on the preserve of 22,000 that were planted. And President Waldo planted the first pine. I don't know if there's a marker back here that denotes, hey, this is Waldo's pine. I'm going to take a walk through here and find out. But that's pretty much the history of it back here. It's a nice little walk, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Let's go have a good day. I'll be right back. And another little fact of interest that I had noticed years ago before I even came here and took a walk. But up in Mountain Home Cemetery, a short distance on a real quiet little hill behind the receiving vault, you'll find the graves of Mr. and Mrs. Kleinstuck. You can see the very exclusive homes all along here backing up to this walkway, this valley. Of course, the topography here carved out by the receding glacier back in the day. I'll be right back. You can see here that they've made improvements with some rocks for drainage and damming and so forth. Look at the little draw going up here into these homes' backyards. All right. See what this little plaque says. It welcomes us. Mrs. Caroline Kleinstuck, 48-acre tract of land, Michigan Board of Education. See, I didn't lie. All right. Let's go check it. This is a lot of fun coming out here at 65 degrees temperature and when there's no leaves on yet, and getting to really see what my father used to call the lay of the land. This is what you need a topographical map to sort out. In the summertime with the leaves all on the trees, you just would not be able to figure half of this out, especially at night. Of course, the Native Americans, they were all through here. This is the actual official entry, I think, and warning signs ahead. I'll be right back. Okay, standard signs, your dogs, everything else. WMU, police are watching. And don't get bit by the skeeters. You might get Eastern equine encephalitis or triple E. Boy, that's a wide shoe. It's also very cool back here that when you get the old trees, this is an old pine tree, and down they go, they collapse, and they're just left. 5 years ago, this was covered with moss, thick moss. Now there's barely anything on it. It's just punking away. It's turning into punk. Same with this big, tall, telephone pole-esque dead end right there. Yeah. And here's even a larger one right here. That's like close to 50 foot tall. The one right next to it here just punking away as the ones up there in the woods. Punk? Oh boy. Yep. Be right back. Okay, here's a real sight. It's a tree that's been bent over and it's ready to fall. Okay, real heavy up in the canopy. What's keeping it from falling is this other tree that's in front of it right here. Okay, as we move a little closer, you'll see this is split. It's dying. You can see right there where they're kissing. Okay, it's the only thing that's keeping that there. And one of these days, get a good wind, and it'll scruff right off against the side of that tree, and down it'll go. You can see all these trees back here are kind of leaning, including this thing here, which is dead. They're leaning in the same direction over here, so, because we're looking towards the east, and behind us is the west. We have something on Earth called prevailing westerlies. It's part of science, I think, in 3rd grade. Anyways, that's why most of these are bent pretty much in that direction. Down we go into the bog. Down we go into the bog. I see some pokesalad coming up down here. I think that's what it is. And see, they also have improved some drains. Okay. And so forth down here. Yep. See the direction? Everything is laying out. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's what that is. Down in Louisiana, where the alligators grow so mean. Down there had to sell some poke salad. That's what it is. At least it is today. Let's get down here into the lower lands. Okay, at this point, we can turn around and forget it. Or we can take the road to the left or the road to the right. Let's race like we are in England and send the ponies around counterclockwise. And here you can learn about the birds of the Kleinstuck, or the preserve itself, and the mammals. Really cool little pamphlets. Let's see what's up down here. Okay, here's some of the little toe poppers you have to watch out for when you go bopping through the woods, day or night. You don't want to come down through here and get your toes caught on these, just hiding under the surface of all these leaves that have been all raked and blown out of here. You can see the mulching part of it. So they've come down and took care of some business. Old tree here and so forth. The pathway looks excellent. Here's one of the examples of the large pine trees that were planted back here. Of the 22,000, this is one of them. Another one right next to it right there. I'm going to get up a little closer right here, and I'm going to put my hand right up on the side of here, give you a comparison. That is no small tree. Okay, have a little grove of some others right here. Could have very possibly been planted 80, 90 years ago. This one, absolutely. The one back there too. I thought there'd be a witness tree back here. This is part of the bog. The pond's out in the center right there. We shall keep up the walk. Again, massive pines. This one's dying. And over here behind me, yeah, very nice. Yeah, this is part of the grove. It's still here. And again, looking up into the western boundaries of the preserve at the exclusive homes, whose yards back up to the preserve. And we're going to go down a little hill right here. Other custom homes. They're in the distance. This old deadfall has been here a long time. Over here you can see there's a protective cage around a newly planted tree. You have violets here. Wow. You see a little tree there with a yellow tag on it. Protection. There are more down here. These red stakes, and you can see there's another little stake behind it, okay? And you see a cement stanchion. This used to be one of the first, it was one of the first markers showing the property marker. And so of that 48 to 50 acres that was donated, of the 160, this is the back. It would be the northeast corner marker of the preserve. I seen another one right down over here a couple of minutes ago, and I thought that's what that might be, and they are. Of course, the pond out here in the middle, pretty filled in looking, isn't it? Used to be wide open. Of course, it's 50 years goes by, and this is how they grow in. We'll see if we can see a little open water up here ahead. Of course, up the hill right here, very exclusive homes. Okay, I did a quick and fairly accurate counting of these annual rings. It took me a couple of minutes, and I did it from 2 different angles, and it averages out to 71. This tree is approximately 71 years old. I'll put my hand right here, and you can see the size of my hand versus the tree. The rings, they don't lie. I think this is all part of the same stump out here, but this is a A big old deadfall, cracked off. Look at that monster laying out there. And there's another one that's uprooted back here in the woods. Man, oh man, those are big trees. These are 100-year-old trees. Over 100 years old. Yeah. Up here it looks like there might even be something bigger. Look at that big chunk of red up there. Yes, that's an old punked out tree trunk right there. Don't know if we got joggers out here today. Really nice. Nice day for it. Yeah, quite large. And then some back down here. Over here we can see a little bit of water out there. But man, it's pretty marshy. Somebody was nice enough to put some yellow here. And what's left of this tree trunk right here. Make sure you don't hit it. Toe pop it. All right. You can see how some of these vines start out. That vine's bigger around a baseball bat. It's coming off the ground and wrapping up around that large tree all the way up into the top branches. You can see how this one right here is smaller diameter, but they're wrapping all around and choking off the trees. Just like a big snake, like a boa. They're creepy looking. I've seen them this big as my thigh. Right here again, coming up off the ground, and then look how they wrap around and find their way up into the treetops. There's a smaller one right here coming up and starting its way around the trees. Yeah, when you see those really big ones, like I say, thigh size, man, it is creepy. That's creepy enough right back there. Big old cedar tree right here. This is an enormous cedar. I don't believe I've seen one this big in southwestern Michigan. That is just absolutely something else. We talked about the cedars of Lebanon. Now this right here still would have been a small one of those. But this is very, very, very large specimen. I'll put my hand against it again. Look at this. Okay? Something else. Got to see some close-up of some bark there. And then again, some of the flowage, of course, comes out of these hills, comes down into this, and they put some drainage down here. This is a drainage field. When it really gets raining, it'll be flowing through here. Exclusive homes. This is a big dead tree right here. Yep, all right. And you can see how the drainage flows down in and pools up down here in the old swamp. More of those vines, look at them. Starting their way right there. The base of that tree. Well, here, folks, is a little pathway leading right down into the middle of this thing. Let's go back and see what's up. Okay, here I am standing about in the middle of the Kleinstuck bog. There's the open water right there. This all used to be, I'd be waist deep or more. Judging from the bank and the slope I just walked down. Now these old trees right here, they've been around here about 50 years. But as you get in here a little farther, now this is all the last 35, 40 years, all grown up. Yeah, have more walkers here. It's a popular place. All right. See if I can find my way out of here since I'm walking the wrong direction. And something here that you can see, everything budding out. In another month to month and a half, you wouldn't have even been able to see me standing back there in broad daylight. Yep, I'm not kidding. I'm a pro at that kind of thing. Yes, and as it gets a little sunnier and a little warmer, you're going to have the reptiles coming out back in there too, laying on those old dead downfalls and things, sunning in the sun. Yeah, good time of the year to go in there and be unreptiled. I don't hate snakes. I just have a high respect for them, and I like to be able to see them first. But when I don't, and I look over to the left or the right, and there's a 4 or 5 foot black water snake laying there, I say, well, hello, 4 or 5 foot black water snake, and I get the doggone heck out of there. Well, this is very nice. A little place to take your shoes off. Stay a while. Y'all come back now. Yeah? A couple more trees here that they have planted. Here's an old twisted deadfall. Everything there. You can see some real wind damage there. That tree is 14 inches in diameter at the base, but it got bowing in the wind. Last storm, you see it split it high, running almost all the way down to the base. It won't be long. Widowmaker. Another little look at some of the trees that have been knocked over. You can see the marl on the bottom of the root. Kind of a gray colored material. Something else they probably dug out of here at one time, or maybe they didn't really know that it could be used as a fertilizer. It's very, very mucky and sandy here, and not much for these roots to really keep them down. So in a good storm, they just right on over. It's part of nature. You can see that they've tried to help a couple of these by cutting them, and I'll let that rot away, and then that tree will snap off and fall, and try to preserve a little safety. Another tree here that they're trying to protect. Of course, it's part of the drainage. Other protected trees up here as well. New ones that they planted to replace all these massive deadfalls, huh? Right here, there's a deadfall. It's actually used as a little step to go over the edge here and walk down here. Take a look at the water. Well, yes, I'm going to step off. Here's another one right here. Some kind of a nest right here. See the color of the soil. Of course, these have all weakened and fell. All right. A little better there at this angle, seeing the gray coloring of the soil. And again, using these as steps. There, now you're rangered up a hill. There's a completely dead tree right here, well over 100 years old. I'm calling it 130 at bare minimum. That's a big tree. Looks like a couple more down here. Off in the distance, you can see the red buds coming out on the trees. They're on the opposite shore, about where we came in. This whole hillside is dotted with brand new trees that have been planted and then preserved with the little cages around them. It's very nice. And they continue on up here a ways. And I see something here that we talked about, those vines. All right, prime example right here. Okay, they were wrapped around this tree, and look what it did to it. Okay, and kept wrapping around it, and the tree grew around the vines. See that? Look how it's completely grown around it. I can poke up in here closer. Look at this. Okay, look at the vine keep going and going. Right? That's right out of a horror movie. But it's nature. Now I can tell that WMU has tried to rid this place of those vines. Look at here. Look what they're doing up in here and clearing this out, cutting those vines off. Of course, the ones that are still hanging up that have made their way high into the trees, okay, they go so far, but they're dead. Okay, take a look at this one right here. I'll be right back. Look how that vine wrapped around that tree and grew, and look how it forcing its way right into the tree's bark, becoming part of the tree, and wrapping its way all the way up and in through the tops of the tree, killing the tree. Right back here, there's even a bigger one. We'll take a look at that. Okay, you can see hanging right there next to the birdhouse. To the left, look at those vines all the way up until it gets into the treetops. And they've cut them off, killed them. Many of the smaller trees that have died have come through here and they've cut them, okay, to facilitate the rotting and the natural fall of the flora. What's up here? Interesting little root pattern exposed here. Foot of this one. Another little information board here on this end of the preserve. Now there's a nice little mallard drake down there swimming along. Hear that? That's a heron. There's a blue heron out there somewhere. He's back behind all those bushes. This is the second little private pathway that leads right up into the neighborhoods. They have their own little access right down here onto the Kleinstuck. Here's a large area right here that they have fenced in, and there's no markings. I do not know why. Okay, and again, as we're walking along, a few more of the exclusive homes built up here. Again, you won't be able to see those in a month. Won't even know those are there. Yep. Very old deadfall right there. And looking out over the center of Kleinstuck Lake. All right then. That glacier really carved this out. That's for sure. Leaving this deposit here in the center. All that peat, the marl underneath it. A little more field here of deadfall. Back in the day, you can see this is fully navigable by the stroller and the parent. That's what I like about our trails around Kalamazoo area. Most are flat, most are family friendly, pooch friendly, and you can navigate them. Right back. Okay, and we found ourselves back here to where we entered and went the counterclockwise around the racetrack, so to speak. Came out right here behind us. Ready to walk on back out. Thanks again for being with me today. This is a good little walk. I'm not even out of breath. This is like, normal. I'll be right up here in a second. Well, this is a great little spot to sign off here for the day. Tell every one of you, thank you so much for subscribing, going along with me on these little adventures. This is kind of a short one today. Not too much fauna out there. Flora's coming on. Hear a helicopter roaring in the distance. With that being said, little air show going on probably right over the top of us here. We will try to catch you in the next one. There goes the chopper. That was a Jet Ranger. Yep. I got two good little glimpses at it. That being said, from the Kleinstuck Preserve, just off Chevy Chase, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Thanks for adventuring along today. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great and safe day. Thanks again for subscribing. Hitting that Stegosaurus button and telling your friends and neighbors. See you in the next one.